welcome to the Big Fat Gay Podcast, where we talk about the things that are weighing on our minds. I'm Dan Oliverio. I'm a chubby chaser, author, and public speaker, and there's a heat wave a-coming, so Trevor and I are escaping to San Diego.
Wait, is it going to be cooler there?
Yes, it will be.
Oh, no.
I'm Trevor Keyson. I'm a super chub, and I am the one who's escaping with Dan, I guess. We're escaping because last Thursday, just in time for our anniversary, our air conditioning broke.
Oh, no.
We could have been going out to dinner. We could have been staying home and enjoying dinner. No, we were waiting for repairmen.
Yes.
Oh. Who ultimately did not really fix the problem because we're getting a new air conditioning unit.
Happy anniversary.
Hey!
The fourth anniversary is the air conditioner anniversary.
Yes, we didn't know that.
My name is Michael. I am a chaser, and I guess I am just sort of praying that my air conditioning doesn't also go out. In fact, all of our power went out the last two heat waves. So come on, third time's a charm.
My name's Don Marshall. I'm a chubby guy living in Hollywood. And there's a blue wave a-coming, so I don't have to move to Canada. There you go.
That's wishful thinking.
Nice. That is, I like it. It's positive thinking. Positive thinking. There you go. Welcome to the show, everybody. We have made it once again in the morning to drag ourselves out of bed and drink lots of coffee to then still start our show 20 minutes late.
They don't know that. They don't know. We're always right on time.
A listener sent in I didn't actually look into this all that much because I wanted Trevor to explain it to me. What is Fat Bear Week and why is it relevant?
I have been following Fat Bear Week for a while because it's a big thing on, I don't know what part of Twitter, and it's not the part you would think. So Fat Bear Week is basically at the start of fall in Katamai National Park. They are kind of, tracking data of the bears that are in this national park. And they have a competition for who is the fattest bear in
actual bear.
In the park. Yes, actual bear.
Yeah, but not Provincetown.
I was going to say, I would feel called out if a park ranger wandered up to me and dragged me over to the main lodge.
Well, this one's the fattest.
They post,
and they have like a bracket and everything.
Yes, they post pictures and people vote on which is the fattest bear. But for a long time, I would always just see Fat Bear Week on Twitter, and it would kind of activate, the lizard part of my brain. Like, what is happening? Why is everyone talking about how fat all the bears are?
So my question is, do they actually have are you trying to accurately guess the real weights of the bears, or are they just saying who looks the fattest, who looks the most fabulous, and then you vote for whoever you like the most?
It's a popularity contest, really, but I think then they do end up revealing the weight of the bears. Some of them just have numbers.
This sounds like a reality show in the making.
I'm just picturing like an Instagram model bear, pitching himself for it.
Yes.
I mean, if that overlap hasn't happened yet, it super should, because there's a lot of marketing sort of synergy there.
But so
I've got
today,
little bear ears somewhere. I could give myself a black nose.
Today, the day this is releasing, September 30th,
Bearface, is
the kickoff of voting for Fat Bear Week. So it's basically explore.org/Fat Bear Week. You can also see pictures of all the fattest bears under the hashtag Fat Bear Week or hashtag Bear Cam.
Which again, there's a lot of synergy here.
Yeah.
For cross promotion.
National Geographic or National Geographic?
One of these bears is called Chunk, and I really want Chunk to win.
Yes.
Chunk 2020. Vote for Chunk.
The only way this could really work, though, as a reality show is if somehow the bears were dating somebody or something.
They didn't come here to make friends.
They have the handler. I came here to be number one.
Yeah. I'm picturing this reality show like that, the reality show that followed the little girl beauty pageants.
Oh, yeah.
Except it's bears. So bears in wigs learning how to walk.
Okay,
they have to have a talent routine.
That's the prize winner. Yes. That's the show to pitch.
A bear drinking a slurry of honey and Mountain Dew.
I don't care what they win. I do what I want.
Oh my God, Honey Boo Boo.
That's the point. That's the point. That's it. That's why this
She's
is
the
just
new
such
host.
genius. Yeah.
Honey Boo Bear.
Honey Boo Bear.
So moving right along, we have an update. And Trevor, didn't you mention that they were picking up sumo again in LA? The practices.
So and they posted the dates, and I don't think they really have any safety practices. Like there's
at all.
There's no, I haven't seen anything in the emails like, oh, we're doing temperature checks and everything. But then I happened to see on I don't know sumo Twitter this lovely photo essay about sumo in Japan during the pandemic.
Oh, how's that going?
It's happening, but there's a lot of wrestlers who aren't participating. I mean, they're doing temperature checks. There's very few people kind of watching, but there's strict mask rules for viewers.
They have a very limited, if their stadium has 10,000 seats, they're only letting 2,500 tickets sell. And it's trying to be very limited and responsible as far as the audience goes. But I think it's interesting to me because it's the same thing is happening in soccer and a lot of professional sports where, I mean, sports, you have the athletes who've made it their profession to be as good as they can and to compete. But at the same time, it's a reminder that a sport is actually entertainment. It's meant to be done for an audience, no matter how much of it is like a discipline and something that you do for yourself. It's supposed to be watched. It's supposed to be done in front of lots of people who are interested and have, opinions and want to root for you. And part of the article that Trevor shared was about how, like, even though they're trying to be socially responsible, they're still having a hard time getting people to fill the stadium, where in a sport and in a place where this is the fans are extremely loyal and they will show up no matter what usually. And it's kind of a sad thing to see because I know that watching, I like soccer and I follow Barcelona and they're playing games where they score a goal and they want to celebrate. And usually you go to the corner of the field to celebrate with the audience, but there isn't one.
Oh, wow.
But on the plus side, we're seeing some sort of, I guess, fat gay representation on a show on Hulu, right?
Yes. Pen 15, the second season just came out.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I mean, spoiler, but it's been talked about pretty widely, and the second season just came out, so I don't feel bad talking about it. But there is a kind of a subplot in the season where one of the characters' boyfriends is kind of realizing he's gay. And he's this little chubby kid, and I think it's been resonating with a lot of, millennials, because Pen 15 is two 30-year-old actresses playing themselves at 13. And the rest of the cast is age appropriate.
Age 13.
And it takes place in the, early 2000s. Like for me, it's, I was that age at that time going through that.
Yeah.
And also I think it's the first time we've really seen there's not a lot of queer representation in that age group in TV of someone coming to terms with their sexuality. And I don't think there has ever been, a fat character going through that.
I think it's a double win because so often any storyline where the kids are under 18, there's this, we know they're sexual, but we're not going to talk about that because it might get us into hot water if we talk about people under 18 having sex. And then to make that a gay character and then to make that a gay chubby character, that's kind of revolutionary.
Yeah. And the flip side of it is, and this article that we're talking about it's actually a BuzzFeed news article.
BuzzFeed by David Mack.
It's really, really well put together and pulls on a lot of different interviews and subjects that I think is well worth the read. But to sort of contrast with Dan's point, the other side of it is that sometimes you get like movies which a lot of people love this movie. I haven't seen it, but love Simon, where the main character is sort of struggling with being gay and but it's a very sort of traditionally good-looking guy whose only struggle is kind of,
I have never found a way to connect
boy?
with those movies.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
it's just not my experience. It has nothing to do with my life. So
the other big thing here too is that they're not, and yeah, Don, I'm totally in your camp. But the other thing too is that I think Pen 15, isn't it middle schoolers? Like, isn't it even younger?
It's younger.
It's junior high.
It is.
Junior high, yeah. So it's because we're kind of used to the 24-year-old actor playing 17, 18 and, having sex or kissing or relationship. And we go, yeah, of course, that's fine. But when you scale it all the way back to junior high and then talking about sexuality and things like that, it really gets relevant.
Yeah. I think nothing against movies like Love, Simon. It's not a contrast in that sense. It's just more of a, like, how gritty are you going to go with it? Like how, like the sort of, I'm, a junior in high school and I'm really attractive, but I'm still figuring out how I want to be gay. That's one thing. If you get into the really ugly years of I'm 13 or I'm, and I have no idea about anything and I'm sort of the kid that everybody ignores and I'm chubby and I'm whatever and I don't even know what gay is yet, and that's the story you're focusing on. I think that gets into a much more it's just harder to get into stories like that without being brutally honest.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're skipping or we're pushing mailbag back a little bit. We'll get to that in a second. But first up,
it's Lizzo Watch 2020. It's still
here.
Yay! It's here. It's back.
Lizzo Watch.
What's going on? Like Trevor just wrote a new theme song.
Yes. So first up, Lizzo kind of swept the nominations for the Billboard Music Awards. She got 11 nominations.
Wow. Hell yeah.
Yes. Top new artist, top female artist, top song sales artist, top radio songs artist, top R&B artist, top R&B female artist, top 100 song, top selling song, top radio song, top R&B song, top rap song.
Damn. It's funny to think of her as a new artist. That still blows me away, but I think it's because of how long this year feels.
Yeah. I think the first time I talked about her was around Christmas time.
Wow.
Yes. It's the first time I'd had a conversation about her. So.
Oh, but yeah. Congrats, Lizzo.
Congrats to Lizzo. I hope she wins every single one of them.
I hope she needs like a little red wagon to carry all of her awards.
I saw, by the way, just a random side fact since we're in Lizzo Watch. Apparently, she has a life-size version of the tiny purse that she brought to the red carpet.
Wait, she has a life-size version of the little she has a purse, is what you mean.
She has a purse, but it's the same purse. So clearly the purse existed and then she said, no, make me a tiny one.
Or she, fell in some water and kind of got, it's like one of those little foam dinosaurs and just kind of swelled up.
A shrinky dink.
Yes. But yeah, so more recognition for Lizzo. Lizzo is on the cover of Vogue magazine.
She certainly is.
Oh, yes. And we had a lot of listeners send this in when it came up.
Can I just say, what a fabulous dress. Jesus Christ. That's amazing.
Yes. Oh, my God. Dresses, like the photo shoot that they did with her, like she just works it. The red dress on the actual cover is like stunning. The actual photo is beautiful.
I like the hot pink kind of, I don't even know how to describe
sort of gown.
I like the purple one too. Yeah.
I just love how gay we are. Can I just say how fucking gay are we?
But
the best part of this is the interview and the article that they wrote about her.
There's a wonderful feature. Lizzo talks about kind of her start. She talks about the election. She talks about kind of this idea of body positivity, but how body positivity is being co-opted, and like she just wants to normalize fat bodies. It's
body normalization.
Yes,
is the phrase that she used, which I think is really cool because she's right. I mean, the point that she was making was, and again, you should read the article because there's a lot more there. Written by Claudia Rankin. I think her name is Rankin. But the quote from Lizzo, when she was talking about body positivity, it was that it's sort of been co-opted and commercialized, but also normalized in the sense that like a lot of women that you would say are like a little curvy or, like have a little bit of extra, but not necessarily like, fat women, like really fat women are now using body positivity as their kind of like calling card, their hashtag. And Lizzo's saying like, that's fine. Like have that, like, please be a part of this movement. We're all in it together. But I feel like the people who originally needed the term body positivity no longer get to have it anymore. It's now this other thing. And we need to keep pushing for the women who have a belly, who have thighs, who actually have some of those really big fat curves that body positivity was initially for. And so it's her point is like, this is a reminder that we need to continue forward. We can't just be happy with the where body positivity as a term has settled, because it's sort of settled down into something more mainstream.
Well, and I think also the fatosphere has taken that up, and that's why you see terms like body liberation or fat liberation or ending fat oppression, because body positivity has become like, wow, we need a movement to not hate what you look like. That's a movement. And also, as you said, the commercialization of, we can sell anything from soap to makeup if we say body positivity alongside it.
Yeah.
Right.
I also like body normalization because in the whole kind of, I'll say body politics conversation, because there's all these terms.
Yes.
There has been kind of a splinter off from body positivity called body neutrality, which I'm not too well versed in, but it is, I almost feel like it's like nihilism, where it's just this, like, my body is a body and it is not good or bad. It is a vessel. I like body normalization because that is kind of it was kind of the original goal of body positivity that has kind of, once again, been co-opted, kind of morphed into this. I kind of think of Akira, like the giant. Has anyone else seen Akira? Listeners have seen Akira. It's basically this giant body horror monster where it's like diet pills are being marketed with body positivity now. And it's like, no, that's not what this was.
I'm a fan of the contraction. It's no longer body positivity because it's so commercial. Now it's just BOPO.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I've got a HuffPost article up that's attempting to explain body neutrality. So I'll just read a quick little bit about it, because I was curious. I'd never heard that. Or I think maybe, Trevor, you brought it up like when we first started the show.
Yeah.
But basically saying like it's intended to help participants acknowledge that loving their bodies isn't always realistic. Sometimes it's okay to land somewhere in between, in a more neutral place. It's about seeing your body as a vehicle that, when treated with care, can help you move about the world in ways that bring you joy. That's it. Not thinking about how you look, either good or bad.
There's actually a point, and it was like 2 weeks ago, I was in the shower and I was thinking of a body politics alignment chart, which I was talking with Dan about. I still have it kind of in my notes.
That's clever.
It's a bit primordial, but I see where you're going.
So maybe I'll probably pick that up again at work on it, and maybe I'll share it with you guys so you can give some input, because it was sort fun to come up with. But body neutrality was kind of the true neutral.
Yeah, or like lawful neutral.
Seems appropriate.
Yeah.
Body true neutrality.
It's very sticky though. All the terms and what people mean by the terms, and it's all very slippery.
Yeah.
Yes.
I started trying to come up with an alignment chart for 2020, and I just got too depressed to finish it.
No, Don, don't do it.
It just hurt, Michael. It hurt.
I have one more kind of Lizzo Watch adjacent thing, a follow up. I didn't share this last week, but I mentioned it. The Phantom of the Wopera.
I don't cook, I don't clean, but let me tell you, I got this ring.
Gobble me, swallow me, drip down inside of me, quick jump out for you, let it get inside of me. I tell them where to put it, never tell them where I'm about to be. I run down on a bar, have a nigga running me. Talk your shit, bite your lip, ask for a call while you ride that dick. You really ain't never got him fucking for a thing. You already made his mind up before he came. Now get your and your coat, this wet ass pussy. He bought a phone just for pictures of this wet ass pussy.
Okay, that's funny.
I really like towards like once they get into the really iconic theme where you hear the organ playing while she's singing the chorus of that to me is like
it's really cute.
It's so dramatic. But yeah, that's a little the continuing saga, the wet ass pizza saga.
Yes, that is. I like to think of these as like almost like little palate cleansers before we get to the meat of the episode. Which
what is our meat today?
Yeah,
it's the mailbag.
We have a meaty mailbag.
I'm dancing to the music in my head.
So,
and you look adorable.
It's the mailbag dance.
Yes.
So we had a listener write in last week, I guess, with a really. This is something that I think we've vaguely brushed on, but we really haven't gotten into. And it was such a good question that we were like, this is worth making like the main subject for today. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to dive right in, and you guys, I guess, just let me know if I've said enough. But this is I think, a really good question. Super Chub Nick writes. Hello, my fellow big and small gays. I love your podcast and, of course, y'all as well. I have a question. I've been watching Hot and Heavy on TLC, and I'm one episode in, which is, just so you know, that's the show that we referenced, I think, in episode 2 way back in the day. One of the couples on the show is having an interesting issue, which I thought would be a good discussion for the pod. The wife is in the mixed weight couple, which, parentheses, I hate this term. That's what he says. She wants to lose weight through gastric bypass surgery so she can improve her chances of pregnancy and improve her overall health. Her husband, on the other hand, is resistant to the surgery, but is open to her becoming more healthy through other means. In the show, he expresses how the idea of his wife drastically losing weight is a big concern of his because he likes his wife's appearance as is or even larger. Do you think the husband would be in the wrong if he potentially left his wife over a drastic weight loss? Thanks again for the podcast that tackles societal fat phobia, fat bias, and Chaser Chub issues. Stay cute, stay sassy, stay classy. Thank you, Nick.
I should just say that
wow.
I get this question as a chaser personally a lot. I get it in almost every seminar I lead, and it's something that I felt I had to address in my book when I wrote it. This is a big deal in the community.
It is,
and I speak about it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also feel like the question being raised by the show is one that's a little different than
there's 2 or 3
we deal with
questions
as gay men because of the child issue.
Well, but there's 2 different issues here. There's the health issue of gastric bypass, and then there's the chub chaser issue of what if they lose a drastic amount of weight.
No, and what I'm saying is there's a third issue here.
And then
if she cannot have a child, if that is a life goal of hers, if she can't have a child at her weight, and she can't achieve her life goal that way, what effect does that have on the decision too?
I
think that's something
right.
we don't have to deal with. But
no, it's not
something that can't be ignored.
But I think that it's not such a stretch to say that is a life goal. A lot of fat men have a goal of not being as fat as they are. So whether it's to achieve a particular end as concrete as childbirth, and by the way, a lot of fat women do get pregnant. It's not that cut and dried. But I think a lot of fat men would argue that there's things they want to do in their life that their weight prohibits them from doing. So I think it sort of wraps into that for us. Although, I mean, if you want to make
reproduction is sort of a whole different ballpark. That's
but I also don't think
I get what
thing.
I get what Dan's saying. I mean, his point is that, like, yes, the pregnancy issue gives it an entire other level of importance and gravitas. Like, it is, it adds an entire new context to it. But functionally, if you're talking about whether or not to lose weight in a relationship, functionally, it starts in the same place of we are, quote unquote, a mixed weight couple. Does the fatter person lose weight to achieve a goal? And if so, how does that affect the couple?
Yeah. I think the childbirth thing sanctifies the decision because we have such accord and regard and taboo around reproduction and childbirth. But I think it's just a goal like any other.
Right.
Okay. I can't agree with that, but I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Well, I think in the terms of just, I mean, the listener question, I think we should just sidebar the whole childbirth aspect.
Yeah, I don't know that any of us is going to be able to.
It's not necessarily pertinent to our particular listener group, maybe.
It certainly could be. My concern is that we're going to be speaking well outside our realm of personal experience. So that'll just end up, I don't know, it might get a little sticky. But there's a lot of other aspects of this that we can speak to.
Yes.
So Dan, what is your starting point when you discuss this?
So the first thing I try to get people to understand is, yes, this is a real issue. So it's not, because a lot of chasers will say, oh no, I would never do that. Oh no, that's just a terrible, vicious stereotype. No, it's not. And there's 2 prongs to this. The first is I point out that chubby chasers have a lot bigger range of desirability and what they find attractive than most normal people. Like most normal people out there have about a 30-pound variance in what they find sexually attractive, whereas chubby chasers can have 100 or 200-pound range in what they think of as sexually attractive. It's a huge, so, it's not in the, let's call it the normal world, somebody gains 30 pounds and like, whereas, for a chubby chaser, gaining or losing 30 pounds is not that huge a deal because of, what you're talking about. And our range goes bigger. And the other thing I like to remind chubs is that it's not a matter of, you lost weight, so I don't love you anymore. But if you think, if you turn the tables, if you think about a fat person, and most fat persons do not find other fat persons attractive. I realize there are many who do, but by and large, most fat people do not want to date someone who looks like them as a sexual turn on. Like, that's not attractive. So if you can imagine a chubby person who really loves their fit chaser, and the fit chaser gains 100 pounds, that is absolutely going to change the relationship. Does it mean you leave? Does it mean you don't have sex? I didn't say that. I just said it changes the relationship. It is no longer the same relationship you had. And it's not the case that body size is incidental or invisible. That just doesn't happen, especially in our relationships. So again, the two things are, number one, chasers get a lot of blame for this, but we actually have a much wider weight variance than others. And if you switched it, I think a lot of fat guys would find it very disappointing if their lover gained 100 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, I think certainly, I don't think anyone could really argue the idea that it changes. It just changes the landscape of what you're looking at as far as the relationship goes. And I think the thing that people struggle with, as far as what I've kind of seen on my side of things, is the idea of like, I feel like people, and maybe this is just an American thing, but I feel like people try so hard to separate the idea of romantic love from sexual attraction. Like, if you love somebody, you're going to be attracted to them no matter what they look like, which is, that's the part that trips me up, because it's like, I mean, you can always love somebody. Like, if you love them, you can always love them. But trying to pull apart sex from a romantic relationship and saying, well, if I'm not sexually attracted to my partner anymore, it doesn't matter because I still love them, I care about them. Well, but that is different. Like, that relationships is, as far as what I've understood and what I've experienced, like, they are supposed to be about many things, including sex and sexual attraction. Like, that is part of how you fulfill each other's lives in a way that you don't do with your friends and your family. Like, that is what is unique about it. Yeah,
and I was going to say that if love is all you need, then why don't gay guys marry their favorite gal pal? Why do they hold out?
Sure.
Why do they hold out for another guy?
I've known a few marriages where I suspected that.
Well, exactly. And let's look at this. Where do you draw the line at where you think it's acceptable to leave the relationship based on a change? So let's table the issue of gaining or losing 100 pounds. And for a chubby chaser, by the way, it's kind of implied that the body style and size is somewhat important to the relationship, as it is for everybody. But, ours gets noticed more because it's outside the norm. But let's say that you're in a heterosexual relationship and the man comes out as gay. Should they stay together because they still love each other? Or would the wife be justified in leaving because, hey, her husband's gay now? Or
That's actually a very interesting comparison?
Or what if one of the partners has a gender reassignment? Are they obligated to stay together because you really love the person and it doesn't matter what, that might change things. And I'm not saying that you need to leave or you shouldn't leave or anything like that. I'm just saying that you must acknowledge, and I do with couples with this, the couple has to find their own solution. And sometimes that's you stay friends, but you're no longer romantic partners. And sometimes you just continue as you were going because you say it's not the biggest thing in the relationship. That's not for us to say. That's for the couple to say. But it must be acknowledged that we don't get to judge what's valid or invalid. That's the couple's business.
This question made me think of an essay I read. This was actually in the workshop I did where I wrote my New York Times essay. And I believe this woman's essay was published, but I couldn't find it, so I'm not able to share it. But she wrote about her fiance was in a hiking accident and it ended up paralyzed from the waist down. And it was traumatic for both of them. And it changed their relationship. I mean, they were still in love with each other, but she kind of took on this caregiver role. And she was okay with it, but he didn't like it. And it was, they're overnight, their relationship transformed. And it was a physical change, but it wasn't, I'm not comparing it to gastric bypass, but they came to this crossroads of, are we going to, are we still getting married? Or what do we want to do? And he said, I wanted to walk down the aisle with you. And he's like, that's not a possibility now. He's like, I don't want to roll down the aisle with you. And he's like, this isn't what either of us signed on for. He opened the conversation, but it was a very mutual parting. And they both ended up then finding new partners. They have a new relationship now, but it was just this, whenever there is any kind of drastic physical change in a relationship, it changes how you are with that person.
Right. I'm curious, Don, what your take is on all of this. Like, how does that hit you? Like, if you were in a relationship, like let's say, like Dan's example, like where the chaser gains 100 pounds, what happens there? Like, what is in that hypothetical situation? What would that do to you?
I think Dan's way of explaining it, of it changing the relationship, not ending it, is very much my thinking. If I'm not attracted to someone, I don't want to sleep with you. I mean, that's true, but
right.
But physical appearance isn't the only factor for my attraction. Like if you put together a rogues gallery of all my exes, there's almost no constant physical through line to it. But that said, is the emotional component in your romantic relationship different from the emotional components that you see in a standard friendship? Like, if there is a different in your romantic feelings, then adjustments need to be made if you want to hold the relationship together. Like for me, the comparison to trans couple where someone reveals themselves as trans after the relationship has begun and makes those transitions, I've seen that happen, and I've been very surprised at how many relationships have survived it. Where, you started off in a heterosexual relationship and now you're in a gay one, and that sort of thing.
Right.
So what I was going to kind of tie that back to is, if you look at Trevor's example of the couple that broke up, and the inciting event was the man's, I guess, paraplegia. So the headline on that story is "Woman Leaves Man After Terrible Accident." Like, that's the headline for that story. But that's not how the couple experiences it. But that's often how it gets reflected in the world. And similarly, I think a lot of times when we see a mixed couple break up and the fat person lost weight, a lot of times it's the chaser gets blamed with, like, well, he left, so obviously he's a douche because he left, and anyone who leaves is a douche. Sometimes, by the way, it's the fat person who lost the weight that decides they need to leave, because now they're experiencing life at a different size and they'd like to experience that life, in a different context than they had before without this partner, or in a different way, in a different liaison with this partner. Again, I remember when I was breaking up with one of my exes and I was absolutely devastated. And he said, it's okay. Because I was like, we don't have a relationship anymore. I was really young and silly. Anyway, and he said to me, no, Dan, we still have a relationship. We just have a different relationship. And and the couple gets to define what that new relationship is, not other people.
Yeah. I like the idea that you can look at how two people are together in broader terms than dating or broken up. Like that there can be, like, we started as friends and then we were partners romantically, and then there was a breakup, but then now we're friends, but closer friends than normal friends would be. And that there's not necessarily a single context for people to be able to be together in, like that there can be a fluidity to it, and that life does change people, that you're not going to stay the same person emotionally or physically or both or neither for 10, 20 years, like, in that sometimes those changes change how you interact with each other as well.
That's what I wanted to lead into. Exactly. It's while we're talking about this as though it's a exclusively chub chaser thing, I think fundamentally what it comes down to, it's the same thing almost every long-term couple is going to have to tackle at some point, where physical attraction begins to wane, maybe because of overfamiliarity, just too long, or it's been forever, need for more variety. These are issues that every relationship has to tackle at some point. So in this one, we're not alone. We can talk to a lot of different people about their experiences and how they overcame it. I've seen couples, when the change happens, I've seen couples change the relationship, where they tried to stay together, but they opened the relationship to other partners. I've seen the people like go away for 6 months and try and rebuild something new together farther off. But this is something that you could ask your parents, you could ask your grandparents, you could ask older neighbors. I guarantee they've gone through something like this at some point and have had to try and take a couple swings at solving this problem. So gather, people who know you, who have gone through it before, may have better advice than any of us could ever come up with.
There's another aspect here that I often get into in my counseling, which is that if you're a fat person and you're trying to lose weight and you succeed, you are going to get the accolades of the world bestowed upon you. People are applauding you. People are telling you how great you look. And people will say this in the presence of your chaser partner. Oh my God, he's lost so much weight. Isn't that great? And you as the chaser are thinking like, yeah, that's great. I'm glad he's happy. And there is something that happens to the chaser oftentimes, not all the time. It depends which chaser. It depends how much weight we're talking about. It depends on a lot of things. But there are some chasers in some circumstances where the weight loss is a secret death, and they feel guilty about it because they feel like they don't have a right to be unhappy or dissatisfied when their partner is becoming happier, because that's how the partner has weight loss wired up. So so the chaser has no one to talk to about this, and the chaser feels horribly guilty for these feelings of no. And you think and that's happened to me in relationships where my partner lost weight and I was mentally screaming inside, and I had absolutely no right, I felt, to say anything about that, to make that an issue, because it's not my body. It's not I don't get a say in someone else's body. That's not my province, right? But I can't deny that I'm having an internal reaction to this. And 99% of the people with whom I share this are not going to be sympathetic.
Right.
Like, who am I going to talk to about this?
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a chaser support group out there.
Well, unfortunately there is not. Very few chasers relate to each other as
call in to
friends.
the Big Fat Gay Podcast.
You really should, yeah. Whereas, by the way, the opposite of that is chubs, because chubs talk to each other all the time. Gainers talk to each other all the time. Chasers and encouragers, not so much.
Mm-hmm. I found that the hard part, because this has come up in my relationships before, where and pretty frequently, to be honest, like the idea of you start a relationship with somebody and it's assumed that you are attracted to each other. That's where you start. That's your baseline, right? And a lot of times the idea of losing weight comes up like, hey, would you still find me attractive if I lost weight? How much? Like, at what point is it okay? Sometimes it's not even talked about that openly. Sometimes it's kind of vaguely danced around or implied, and it feels like this taboo subject because it is sticky. And the thing that I have a hard time explaining is like Dan was saying at the beginning, like I genuinely have a range of what I find attractive, like a really wide range of probably a couple 100 pounds, maybe even 300. Like, if I'm going to break it down into concrete terms like that, like there's a really wide range of what I will find somebody very, very attractive in. But then the next question is, are we talking about like, oh, you want to live healthier, like you're going to eat certain foods and get more exercise, and that will probably naturally result in some weight loss that may be, 20, 30, 50, 80 pounds, depending on where they are? Or are you talking about getting surgery where you want to eventually look like me? Because those are two different things. And I can genuinely work with you on one of those things as far as like, yes, like this is basically okay. Like I will be on the journey with you for this. But then the second one, like you want to completely rewrite how you look. that's something that I would have a really hard time talking about. Like I've never had to have that conversation before, but that would be, I don't know how that would go. Like Dan was saying, like I don't think the relationship as a romantic sexual relationship would survive that. Like, in fact, I can just say that it wouldn't for me.
And I can say from experience that I surprised myself. Like I didn't think it would be such a big deal. I was like, where's that screaming coming from? Oh my God, that's in my head.
It's inside the house.
It's inside the house.
It's coming from inside the brain.
And all I'm saying is that, chasers will say stuff, chubs will say stuff. And sometimes you don't really know until you get there.
The thing that helped me, which Dan, I don't know if you mind if I share this from your book, but
sure.
That helped me kind of start wrapping my brain around the idea of how a chaser kind of acts in the world of romance is the idea of like attraction to fat being on a completely different sexuality spectrum than attraction to gender or other sexualities. Like attraction to body size is its own sexuality, like it, and can work in tandem with or against other spectrums of sexuality, like gay versus straight versus bi versus everything else.
Yeah. What I was saying there is that sometimes body size is actually more important than gender. Like you could like fat women, fat men, but they got to be fat for Christ's sake.
Exactly. But that's as far as a way of thinking about like, how could you, not love the person you're in love with? I think a lot of people on the outside of this issue think about it like, oh, a sexual preference, like, a straight guy liking blonde women. Mm-hmm. Well, it's actually not equivalent to that. Like that is not the way to frame it, where it's going to start making sense for people. Like, at least for me, that's, you have to start separating it from like, oh yeah, like I really get off when a woman has like long hair. Well, okay. That's not what we're talking about.
And if I brought in a guy with long hair and say, well, what's the difference? I mean, they both have long hair.
Right. Exactly.
And expect the straight guy to go, yeah, sure, that worked. No. Because we just decide that gender is the top of that preference pyramid, but very often
well, I mean, if
not.
you're just looking down at the top of their head, does it really? I think it's sort of natural that we talk a lot about the chaser's perspective on this, because that seems to be the more foreign perspective to the mainstream, so to speak.
We're the weird guys. It's okay. We know that.
Yeah, but I just wanted to say a quick shout out to the chubby guys out there of your feelings when your partner's body changes are valid too. Mm-hmm. Like don't discount them because, well, I'm fat now he's getting fatter. I don't really have the right to say anything because, I'm already there. He's just moving in my direction. No.
I hear that so much. Yeah. I hear that so much from chubs of them trying to get over the chaser's weight gain by saying, well, I'm still fatter, so I can't really say anything.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. But the truth is, like, it goes both ways.
Absolutely.
You fell for the person, you fell for the body that they had at the time. You may still like the person that's inside that body, but if it's a different body, it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to open the door to conversations about encouraging your partner to lose weight if that's what it takes for you to get back together on that same plane. The same way that he could express to you, like, I like you larger. It's okay for them to say the feelings. It doesn't mean either of you have to obey the other, but having that conversation, knowing where you stand, that actually gives you a place to work from. Mm-hmm. If you don't share what you want, no one's going to get where you want to be ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really would urge people to get out of the judgment space of what you think is a valid reason to break up, because not everyone agrees. And I could change the situation where you all of a sudden, what if I said, hey, Trevor, what I think we should do? We should buy a pig farm in Iowa. That's what I've always wanted to do.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Dan, you've now committed.
And, I can imagine a lot of partners being like, no, I am not going with you to have pigs in Iowa. That's not what we're going to do. And I'm like, well, then I guess you don't love me. No, it's not how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's just such a messy topic, especially because, what we're discussing is so often, it's usually the opposite, where someone's partner gains a significant amount of weight, and it is this issue of, I'm no longer attracted to this person, and they're made into the villain I don't know. I think a great solution to these problems is non-monogamy. And I think we're seeing more of that as we move forward in time, in the flat circle of time.
I think we should do an episode on non-monogamy sometime.
Yes.
That'd be a good one.
And I think, that's a whole other thing. That's another episode. That'll be episode. Michael can put the number back in later.
Yeah. But what that gets to is there are a lot of different solutions. There is no one right solution for it. It doesn't have to mean breaking up. No. There are other ways to fulfill the sexual needs of a relationship, which could mean bringing someone else in, could mean adding new context to the way the two of you have sex and engage with each other. And it also CDC currently recommends glory holes. Give that a try.
And the other side of that is that Don, it also means that breaking up is also not wrong.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Oh, I didn't even know that was a question.
Yeah.
I have a potential solution next week for pop culture that I'm very excited to share.
Stay tuned for next week's episode.
Cue that Jeopardy theme.
Where Trevor will be telling you where his new glory hole is.
Yes. It's like a glory hole, but it also is not.
And that's as much as you get. Yes. Tune in for episode 36.
Anything else on this subject, folks?
I mean, I'm sure, but for now, for that question, I mean,
without bringing in other stuff, I think that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have a tip?
Ooh. Yes. So if you're a member of this world, you've been seeing that it's burning. And last week there was the rough latest update in the Breonna Taylor case. So my tip is to donate to the Louisville Bail Fund, because there have been ongoing protests. I know the curfew has been lifted as of today, the 28th of September. I think the protests will go on, rightfully so, and people are going to need bail money. So please contribute.
That's a great idea.
Something that's also been happening is that protesters have been facing inordinately high bails, whereas the people who actually commit the murders are like, $100. They'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that's if the cops pick them up.
Yeah. Well, usually it is the cops, but that's not.
It's coming from inside the house. But yes, please. The bails. It's been ridiculous. I've been seeing that some people have been charged it's like $1 million.
What?
You were caught walking down the street. Yeah.
Well, and they just passed a law in Florida, or they're trying to pass a law in Florida, where if you are arrested at a protest where violence has occurred, you can be stripped of your voting rights.
Yeah.
What?
Oh yeah, you didn't know about this? I'm not sure.
I had not heard that.
I'm not sure if it's Florida, but it is definitely one of the state legislatures to try to curb all this uppity protesting. To take away voting rights, which is just genius, right? Because just take away their most important ability to protest.
Yeah.
Donate to bail funds.
Yeah, donate to bail funds.
It's important, and vote for Biden.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah,
please.
They're clutching their wheel again. But Trevor,
bite the bullet. Vote blue all the way down the ticket.
Yeah.
That's the only way we're going to get out of this freaking mess.
Grit your fucking teeth. If you need to blame me, then blame me. I don't care. I will take that blame. Yeah. Let's just get through this year. I've been blaming Michael for
years. It makes things much easier. It's okay.
Yeah. I want to get to the bits. Just the bits. Just the bits.
Just the bits.
No kibble, all bits.
To celebrate.
All bits all the time.
To celebrate Fat Bear Week, I have a bit where we're going to learn so much about our favorite fat bears.
I'm so excited for this.
Yes.
Okay. He said, speaking as a fat bear.
All right. So we're going multiple choice again. You know the deal, boys. Hanna-Barbera ran into some problems with their new creation, Yogi Bear, when he started making it big. Which of the following was one of those problems? 1. They were sued by Smokey Bear creator, who thought by the Smokey Bear creator, who thought their friendly bear living in the park was too similar to his own creation. 2. They had to deal with threats of a lawsuit from baseball great Yogi Berra over the use of his name. 3. They were sued by an Indian spiritual leader, Yogi Baru, who claimed they were belittling his faith and practices. Or 4, Hanna-Barbera had to sue a South Carolina adult performer named Boo Boo, who would appear on stage with a picnic basket and a park ranger and do things not appropriate for Saturday morning television.
Oh my God.
I want that one. I don't care if it's true. I want that one. It is the bestest.
I'm torn between Yogi Berra and Smokey the Bear.
Yeah,
but I'm going to go
same.
with Yogi Berra, the baseball
Yogi
player.
Berra?
Well,
Okay.
I'll go with Smokey the Bear just to go scattershot. One of us will be right.
All right. The correct answer is Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra, apparently he did actually consider suing them at one point, but years after the fact, it sort of came out that there was never really serious consideration, and his children loved watching the show and thinking of him, so he really enjoyed that. So Yogi
Nice.
Berra was fine with Yogi Bear.
So just for clarification, I was wrong. It's not the porn star.
It is not the porn star.
Damn
I'm
it.
so sorry.
Sorry, Dan.
Although now we know what to get you for your next birthday.
Well,
In
my-
another world,
My
in another
nickname,
life.
I already have my boo boo.
my nickname as a
Right.
child was Boo Boo because I would always hurt myself.
And he does a really good boo boo bear impersonation.
Well, I
Oh,
don't know
let's hear it,
about
let's
that,
hear it.
Yogi.
Nice. That's really good. I love it. All right. Question 2. Smokey Bear, note, not Smokey the Bear, as he's usually known, was actually a real bear. Smokey lived in the Smithsonian's National Zoo after he was found as a cub badly burned during a New Mexico forest fire. Over his 26 years as the official ambassador for wildfire prevention, he became so incredibly popular that which of the following became true? 1. He received so much mail he received his own zip code. 2. Bear breeders from around the world paid upwards of $25,000 a session for his stud services.
Oh.
That's like you,
3.
Trevor.
He became the only real bear to have ever had state-sponsored tours on every continent except Antarctica. 4. When he died, his hide was collected, tanned, and divided into multiple pieces
Oh my God.
to be placed on display in places of honor in 20 major American parks. Crowds found the display morbid, though, and the displays were quickly taken down.
I'm going to go with 4 because there was, what was it? Sergeant Stubbs.
Because Trevor loves a little leather.
No, there is a famous military dog that they stuffed and put in the Smithsonian. So this kind of tracks with that.
All right, we got one for tanning his hide.
The thing is, in
Oh my
2020,
God.
it's impossible to determine impossible from improbable from, yeah, that really happened.
No. Don't even try.
If it
I'm
was
going-
2020, like Smokey the Bear would be like held up and tortured in town squares, in Washington D.C. or something.
Good thing he's dead. I'm going with he got his own zip code from all of the mail. I like that one.
I can believe that.
The zip code?
The zip code.
No one's going for bear breeding? I'm shocked.
I
I thought you guys would be all over breeding bears.
I've known some bears big enough to have their own zip code. So yeah.
All right. Well, the correct answer is number 1. He received so much
Yay.
mail, he received his own zip code. Smokey the Bear is, in fact, one of two individuals in the United States to have their own zip code. Can you guess who the other one is?
Santa.
Oh.
Not Santa.
Not Santa.
Not Santa.
Does he know? He'll be crestfallen.
The answer is the American president. The president has his own zip code. But
Well, he lives in his own world.
yeah, Smokey the Bear received so much mail that basically was mail, thousands of letters, and honey. People just kept sending him honey. So he's had his own zip code since 1965.
Well, I bet he needed his own zip code. All those soggy envelopes. Jesus.
All right. Question 3. According to Good Housekeeping magazine, how did Winnie the Pooh get his name? 1. The author's children were at an age where they were obsessed with bathroom humor when he wrote the book. The children found the name concept so hilarious that it stuck. 2. Publishers did not look kindly on the early submissions of the book. The author's wife firmly believed in it and kept sending it out, hoping to find a publisher that wouldn't poo-poo it. It was she that eventually changed the name from Winnie the Bear to Winnie the Pooh. After she did so, it was published by the first group she submitted it to. 3. The author's family met a swan on vacation named Pooh. It inspired him so much that he wrote a poem about it, and it left such an indelible mark on him that Milne eventually named his most iconic character after it. Or 4, the character's name was actually a typo that occurred at the typesetters when the book was printed. The original name on the bear was Winnie the Pooh, a nod to a Welsh fairy friend that would only befriend one special person at a time. When the typesetters were working, they mistook the K for an H when printing the first sample page for the test run. Milne liked Pooh so much better than Pook that he changed the rest of the book to match. So
I like the poo-pooing.
You like the poo-pooing?
I'm going with the typesetting error. I
got a typesetting error.
Although, yeah, especially because Winnie the Pooh just sounds so wrong in so many ways. Like, it really, if that was the original, it needed to be changed.
I want to do the wife one, but Dan's doing that, so I will do the swan one.
You'll do the swan one?
I also like the swan one, yeah.
Because I'm kind of torn between them.
All right. We have no takers for bathroom humor of children. How strange.
It's not that kind of poo.
Well, the correct answer is, in fact, the swan. There are actually 2 different swan-related stories that apparently the name might have come from. It was 1, a swan named Pooh they met on vacation, and 2, the sound their son would make when blowing away the swan feathers their neighbor's swan would leave behind. Pooh. Pooh. So there you go.
Oh, that's so
Our
obscure.
final question for the day. Baloo.
Oh, yeah.
Is one of Disney's most famous movie bears. But he's even more famous than you might know. This is because, 1, he was a favorite of Prince Andrews of England when the boy was growing up, so a life-sized replica was constructed in the royal nursery. 2, Baloo was especially loved in China. The first major cartoon series produced in China for China featured a character with a name that translates to Happy Fat Lucky Bear, which featured a character that looked and sounded nearly identical to Baloo. The courts found in Disney's favor when they sued. The Chinese production company never actually paid them a cent. 3, Rudyard Kipling used the Baloo character in many of his books, with a bear named Baloo appearing in Gunga Din, Just So Stories, and The White Man's Burden. Or 4, Disney liked Baloo so much they skinned him and used him in a second movie.
I know the answer to this.
Damn.
So Michael will answer last.
Yes, I'll answer last.
I'm going to go with the Chinese lawsuit.
Chinese lawsuit?
Yeah.
Trevor?
I'm going to go with 4 because I'm pretty sure you are just phrasing it that way.
Wait, they skinned him and put him in another movie?
No.
And Michael?
I am also going with 4. Yeah, Don did phrase it a certain way, but it kind of still holds water.
I might have phrased it a little incorrectly, intentionally. The correct answer is, in fact, number 4. And it would be more proper to say, not that they skinned the bear, but that they reskinned the bear. The animated version of Baloo may seem familiar to Disney fans. He would later reappear as Little John in the 1973 Robin Hood movie, thanks to the new animation process of xerography developed by Disney to basically photocopy old animation that they could then draw over. So there are actually a number of different things that you have re-seen different Disney characters reskinned doing.
Yeah, there's a few characters they did that too. But
so the famous one in this one is, astute viewers will also notice that Baloo's Dance with King Louie is the exact same as that of Little John and Lady Cluck, with a few wardrobe changes. So there you go. Now you know more about your favorite fat bears.
See, I want to know if Baloo gets residuals from the Robin Hood movie.
Well, thanks for spending another hour with us at the Big Fat Gay Podcast.
Yay.
Good luck, future Michael.
Got my work cut out for me. As do you, Trevor.
Yes. So.
Go.
Do it.
Oh, God. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter as at Big Fat Gay Pod. We're on Facebook as The Big Fat Gay Podcast. Leave us 5-star reviews there. Apple Podcast, Stitcher 2. See all the lovely materials we referenced at www.bigfatgaypod.com. And yeah, that's it. I did it all. I did it a little different for people are going to be like, oh, Trevor's changing it up on us, but it's done.
He's looking for a shorter version.
Yeah. Perhaps.
So here we are.
Yeah. Perhaps you're an anthropomorphic bear listening to this week's episode to distract yourself while you await the results of Fat Bear Week. And you get a knock at the door.
And it's a really hairy man in a tiny bathing suit.
Yeah. And he just kind of wiggles his eyebrows at you and then puts his thumbs down the sides of his swimsuit. So,
Look out.
yeah. Okay. Dan this week.
Somebody had to do it.